Like that little mummy rise.
I liked it. It was pretty good.
What the fuck's
when
wrong?
you, like when you face.
Or are you a fucking serpent? Yeah, man, we've done a couple we need to talk about videos. Literally a couple at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's time to talk about something else. And what do we need to talk about? Well, I'll tell you what we need to talk about. We need to talk about the fucking Hobbit.
Uh-huh.
Now, you know that I'm a Lord of the Rings fan.
Yep.
Huge Lord of the Rings fan.
Huge in general, really.
Yes, generally speaking, I am obese. But the point is, I love Lord of the Rings. I love Middle-earth, Tolkien's fantasy worlds as a whole. And I understand that people love The Hobbit. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy The Hobbit too. I just think it kind of sucks.
All right.
And I'm talking the book here. We'll get into the movie right now. But I'm talking the fucking book. You know, I understand it's a classic. It's a great literary classic. I'm not going to rob it of that. I am no one to rob it of that status. It's deserved that status. It's also a great children's classic. And this is where I draw the line. See, because I kind of got to understand where I'm coming from here. Because when I was a kid, I wasn't really into kid things. I mean, I was by default being a kid. Mm-hmm. Like toys and shit, which I guess I'm still into. But, yep. But in terms of books and movies, I never really liked kids' movies. In fact, I like kids' movies nowadays more than I did back then. And the same goes with books. And on top of that, the first Tolkien thing I read was Lord of the Rings. So then when I was like, oh, there's a fucking... It's not a prequel, but, you know, there's something that happens before. I got to read that book. I went back and read it, and I was like, woo, that wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, I mean, it was written for kids. And then ever since then, I've revisited the damn book like at least every 3-4 years. I even revisited it twice in prison because they didn't have Lord of the Rings for the longest time there. So I was like, fuck it, might as well read this shit and try to force myself to like it. Did not. Now, there's a lot of good shit in there, don't get me wrong. He has a deft hand at fantasy, even at a, you know, with the scant few pages that the Hobbit, you know, spans, which, you know, it's not a very thick book. It's like, you know, that versus Lord of the Rings, which is like this fucking big.
Yeah.
But he still lays a lot of mythology in there. You know, he does a lot of callbacks to the mythos of Middle-earth in it. And in those points, for me, the book is like super badass. You know, like, oh, that's cool. You know, it's harkening back to something that's there of substance. But then it comes back to these fucking dwarves and the Hobbit, which to me never got cool until the fucking end. You know, when they finally get to the Battle of the Five Armies, that's when I was like, oh, this is fucking badass. You know, that sequence itself is like, shit, this is cool as fuck. It's, dare I say, the Battle of the Five Armies in the Hobbit is a better battle in written form than the Battle of the Pelennor Fields in Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
it just is. It's just,
oh, dude,
it's just impressively written compared to the Battle of the Pelennor Fields in Lord of the Rings. And the thing is that
I like how I was doing that reaction to mock you and you took it as completely serious.
I mean, it is. Mockery or not, it fucking is. No, but yeah, man, it just fucking is. Which means I'm going to get killed by a bunch of hairy-footed nerds.
Yep.
But that's all right. I can live with that. That being said, there's points in this book where I'm like tearing my fucking hair out in annoyance. You know, and it mainly has to do with when Bilbo is in the Shire and the hobbits come by for dinner. Man, that fucking shit takes forever. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, we got to get to know these characters, right? Except that they're not very cool at all. But it's a kid's book. So I got to kind of give it that leeway, you know what I'm saying?
Goofy names like Grundle.
Yeah. So once Gandalf comes into the mix, I'm like, all right, fucking Gandalf. You know, we drop by Rivendell. That's pretty fucking cool. We hear about the White Council. Well, that's pretty neat. Except that that's kind of all we do, hear about it. And I'm like, all right, well, this is going to come back later, right? Then we hear about the whisperings of the fucking Witch Kings and Dol Guldur. And I'm like, oh, man, that's fucking badass. And then they get to the fucking point where they come to the Mirkwood Forest. And Gandalf's like, all right, homies, I got to go take care of this badass fucking shit over there.
That you can't see.
I'll be back when your asses get through this horribly, horribly dangerous forest that I probably should be guiding you through.
Yep.
I'll be back though. And their little trek to the forest is pretty cool, you know? Little spiders,
But
you know,
there's like
little
a
fucking elven shit. Yeah, but in the meantime, the whole time you're like, the fuck, bro? This guy's literally going to kick some fucking witch king ass.
Yep.
And we're not seeing
the
it.
freaking spider walking around and shit.
Motherfucking drunk ass elves and shit, and you're like, serious, dude? I could be literally reading about this other cool ass shit, and then to rub it in, when he finally comes back, he's like, oh, by the way, I did this cool ass shit that you didn't see at fucking all.
Yep.
And that's when I was like, fuck this book, man. Fuck this fucking book up its stupid ass. Then the Battle of the Five Armies happens not long after that, so I'm like, all right, well, I kind of made up for it, you know? But still, right out, I'm like, dude, fucking shit, are you fucking serious right now? Anyway, that aside, when Peter Jackson announced that, or I should say it wasn't originally Peter Jackson, but when New Line Cinema announced that this was going to be made and Peter Jackson was going to be involved in some respects, and that Del Toro, Guillermo del freaking Toro, one of our fat heroes, fat Mexican hero no less,
shit.
was going to be
It's
the
like
director.
us only with talent.
Yeah, really. It's we're literally nothing like him.
Nope.
Despite just having described the opposite of him, still suck.
nothing,
We still
yeah.
suck way more than
Not
that.
even
but-
close to that shitty opposite him.
Yes. Oh man, he's that cool. But anyway, or we're that lame, or both. But anyway, the point is, we were excited. At least I was. I don't know if you were, because I didn't see you at the time because prison. But anyway,
I was a little skeptical,
yeah.
but I was still like, oh, cool, a new trilogy.
Yeah, I was excited. I will say there was a trace of skepticism in me because, again, the book had pissed me off so many fucking times.
Well, I will say this: when Guillermo was announced, I was like, hell yeah, my boy.
Yeah, that was like, for me,
Yeah.
any trace of skepticism was taken out. I was like, this is going to be epic. Now, I will say that they introduced us something of a fear because visually, he has a very different palette than Peter Jackson. But I was like, that might not be a bad thing, though.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes. And anyway, I was locked up and all three of the movies came out and I didn't see them. So when I finally get the fuck out, I find out that you hadn't seen them and you let me know why. Why don't you tell everybody why?
Woo! So, I forgot what movie it was, so I'm just going to placeholder a movie that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it was, I don't know.
You're watching a movie.
Godzilla or something. We went to see a movie at the old IMAX, which was new. So it was probably Hunger Games. Anyway, it doesn't matter. New IMAX, we went to see it. And they played the trailer
To the first one.
to the first Hobbit film, and we hadn't seen it. It was already on the web, but me and the Guardian were a little bit like, oh man, because we had heard about the troubles behind the scenes. Like Peter Jackson was just like, all right, I'll do it, I guess. You know, after the Guillermo left, so we were a little bit like, oh man. But it came on, and then the Guardian's excitement shone through. He did one of these of excitement, and I just broke your arm. But he did one of those. And I was like, what the flip? It's going to break my arm. And he was excited. He's like, oh, freaking Hobbit, right? Starts playing. Woo! They played it at the higher frame rate, whatever the frame rate was that they were touting as to be the next big thing in film. And it looked like shit. Looked like a novella. And the first trailer, I'm sure you can find it online, sucked. It focused on the dwarves' goofiness. It was like a whole thing introducing their names like Grundle and Frundle and freaking Punchinello and shit. And then at the end, you get some cool shit. But at that point, we were like, this baby's gonna suck. It looks like a telenovela. Looks like a soap opera. Freaking Grundle's in it. It's gonna stink. And dude, we were sad. We were legitimately sad. That was I don't even remember what we said, what movie it was again. But the first thing we said after that was like, that Hobbit, huh? Woo! Looks like shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never saw it.
I didn't see the trailer, but I went direct into seeing the movie. And I have a friend that's also, well, she's a big fantasy nerd in general. And of course, she loved Lord of the Rings. And she was like, oh yeah, you got to see it. And I, at that point, Guillermo del Toro had left. And I was like, that's not a good sign. Because he seems to be a very smart, genial, kind soul.
Yeah.
And it's very, about what he does. And the fact that he got involved in this showed his love for it from the get-go, and then all of a sudden he just departs. And then, Peter Jackson takes up the reins, and he's kind of like, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, is there not going to be anybody else? I'll do it. And then there was stories of them kind of writing on the fly or adapting on the fly, etc. And then on top of that, I hadn't seen the trailers, but I was familiar with the idea of the higher frame rate, which would enhance the 3D viewing experience. But I was confounded as to why the fuck they would release a trailer that to the general audiences that looked that way.
Yeah, again,
made no sense.
I have no idea why they did that, especially because when we saw it, it wasn't the first trailer, so you had that comparison of seeing something that looks like a movie on a freaking IMAX screen with badass sound, and then the next thing is like a freaking Mexican soap opera. It looks like shit, despite having super high budget effects. And there's something about that higher frame rate when you see it in the big screen that makes all the prosthetics look fake as shit. Like everything looks see-through.
Everything, well, on that account, because it's what is it, like double the frame rate almost?
Yeah, something like that.
The point is, everything is closer to life.
Yeah.
Lighting schemes are different, etc. The point is that because life is not a fantasy, it looks like fucking garbage. But I didn't even see that. But just knowing that, I was like, oh no, this is not going to be good. But then, of course, I had also heard that, they actually released it at a lower frame rate for the regular theaters. So there was some hope, but I wasn't cheery about this thing. One, it's based on a book that I'm not particularly fond of.
Thin.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I'm not particularly fond of the book. Again, not saying I hate it, just not fond of it. And second, they're stretching this bad boy over 3 movies. Yeah. And the book is literally dwarves the book.
I do remember that being a big factor in my, this might suck. Yeah. Is that, we got a movie for each tome that's like this big, each book. And yet, The Hobbit, which is freaking wafer thin, gets the same amount of movies. I always found that to be kind of crappy.
Now, the thing is that it's not that I thought that would be crappy, because there's a lot of stuff that you could have expounded upon.
Yeah, true.
But I wasn't sure that they were going to do that with the right things. Yeah. So anyway, whatever. The long story short is this friend of mine says, no, you got to see them. They're great. And I got to trust that point of view, because she's one hard woman to please. But trust me, I know. No, I'm just kidding. I've never boned her. But the point is,
but if you did,
she'd definitely not be pleased.
Woo, that dog stinks.
The point is, I sit down and I'm gonna whole hog this bad boy. I go extended edition from the get go. I say fuck that shit. I'm not gonna watch no theatricals. I missed them in the theaters. No point. I'm just gonna go straight to the extended. And I'm excited, bro. Yeah. Despite the the kind of trepidatious nature of myself before that. I'm like, all right, let's go. And 70 hours later, I'm still in a fucking Hobbit hole with fucking dwarves, man. Yep. Here's the thing. That happens in the book. But again, I found that fucking annoying in the book. The thing is, in the book, you kind of do get to know these dwarves a little. You don't like them that much, but you kind of do get to know them a little. And it feels like, it's an eternity that you're with them, but it is not the majority of the book. Eventually, you do get the fuck out of the Hobbit hole. It seemed that this motherfucking movie was intent on just keeping them in the fucking Hobbit hole. And the thing is, you can only focus on their goofiness so much before it becomes horribly transparent that they don't have a character at this point. Yeah. You're just like, it's just goofs and gaffs, and it's not very funny because it is played just like the book. So it comes off as incredibly childish and just lame and corny. And you're like, man, this is not good. Might as well just have them farting because that's the equivalent of what I'm getting here. And another big issue was that as viewers of the films, the majority of the world already knew what a Hobbit was. We didn't need to get to reintroduce to this idea. Yeah. And they still do that. They don't go to the lengths that they do in Lord of the Rings, but the fact that you went to any length at all is not good. That being said, the intro scene is great, and the ass end of the movie is great.
That middle, though,
we get to see the threads of the White Council start to form. That was cool. But yeah, really that middle when you're with the hobbits and the dwarves, even when they start moving out of the hobbit hole, it's like, dude, can we just fucking... We don't need an extended edition of this. We need a short ass edition. Yeah. Like cut out like 10 hours out of this bitch and release that. Cause you could have easily... I'll put it this way. The whole 2 hours and 10 million minutes of the first movie could have been the first 30 minutes of the second movie, and you would have had the same fucking shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's it. That's all you needed. Just condense all that shit into the 30 minutes and you're good. Fuck. Gandalf was pretty fucking rad though. But another thing I fucking hated, and I hated this scene in the fucking book too, and it was the troll scene.
Oh, you know?
I showed you part of it in the clip.
I haven't seen this movie yet, no, but I have seen clips.
I actually told you not to see the movie. I just showed you relevant portions so that you kind of get a grasp on what was going on so we could move on from there. I will make you sit through it, though, eventually. But the point is, this fucking troll sequence, I fucking hated it in the book. And it's fine. Look, I understand that that's one of the few action sequences at this point in the story. So you got to put it in there. But you've established in Lord of the Rings that trolls aren't the movies. That trolls aren't particularly big characters.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of dumb and brutish.
They're just used to smash shit.
Yeah. So, again, there's many trolls, and we didn't see the whole swath and variety of them in Lord of the Rings. Yes, granted. But it felt like you were introducing something too new. And I understand that's in the book. They talk, and they are dumb.
Yeah, but you already have 3 movies building up a movie.
Yeah, where they're just animalistic brutes.
Yeah, movie universe. You know what I mean?
You don't go back to that because 1, it looks incredibly stupid. 2, it sucked, and it made trolls super lame again. Or I should say, for the first time for anybody that just saw the movies. But for me, it was like it was the same thing when I read the book. I was like, what the fuck's wrong with these trolls? They suck. The hell?
They're cool though. They're farting.
I fucking suck, dude. Just corny, man. Like kid shit. Kid shit. It was like not even family shit. Just kid shit.
Like they could have just had freaking Shrek in there instead of the trolls.
Might as well have had fucking Shrek in there. Some fucking farts and cooking and shit.
Yeah.
It sucked, man.
Talk about the goblin though.
I'm getting there. Anyway, I hated that fucking scene, man.
We gotta go down, down, down.
The only fucking part of that scene that worked was when Gandalf showed up because he's one of the few cool things in the fucking first movie. And when he shows up, you're like, oh, that's badass. Looks badass. He's pretty badass. Old gay man.
Yep.
Cool. Anyway, eventually these motherfuckers get stuck in the dwarves, the 1 trillion dwarves that you don't give a shit about at this moment. They eventually get stuck. Well, they have to go through the mountains, or under the mountains, I should say. The whole fucking thing with the ring, and Gollum happens to Bilbo. But in the meantime, the dwarves are captured by goblins, aka fucking orcs. But I guess they're just goblins here. But anyway, whatever. They have a fucking goblin king. And though this scene harkens to the book and the animated version of it, it still fucking sucks. And if you don't know what I'm talking about already, it's the fucking song in this shit.
It's bad.
Now, I've always had a thing. I understand why Tolkien wrote songs and rhymes and what have you in his literature. He's trying to create a mythological world. And that type of stuff was prominent in that type of literature. So it works. Even when I don't like the song,
you get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
Like Tom Bombadil's song annoys the fuck out of me, but I get it. I understand why it's there. Whatever. I don't think that shit translates to the movie in every single spot. There's moments like when Elisar sings at the end of Return of the King. Fucking badass, man. Put some Dwight Yoakam pants on that bitch and I'm there. You know what I'm saying? There's moments where it works. Pippin's song in Return of the King. There's moments where it works.
Yeah.
And there's moments when it doesn't.
But not when it's a freaking goblin.
When you finally get some action in this fucking bitch, a goddamn goblin that's supposed to be threatening starts dancing and singing, pirouetting, with the worst chin effect of all time.
I've seen this scene multiple times, and that was the first thing I noticed. Why the flip does this chin fat reside in the moon when the rest of his body is in Earth? Like, that baby has no gravity, and yet extreme gravity somehow. It's like, what is this effect? It's like freaking a fighting game, like an old school Japanese fighting game with the tits that are just like moving around and shit.
Yep.
Except it's on his chin, and it's supposed to be like a cool effect. And he's freaking singing about goblins and prongs and shit.
Down, down, down to Goblin Town. Fuck, it sucked, dude. My soul fucking died at that point. I was like, there's no saving this fucking movie, is there? This trilogy is dead.
There's a part where it goes like this, and it sounds like he farts.
Oh, yeah. It's not a fart.
But it sounds like a fart.
But you know that somewhere somebody said, hey, you know, it'd be cool, a little trumpet fart right about here.
Yeah.
Fuck. Sucked, man. I hated it. Then the movie kind of, leads off towards the end. And again, it's pretty much following the book. But you're like, dude, you could have gotten here 10 leagues ago. That's right, leagues.
You're in the ocean now?
I'm like, fucking crap, man. And then it ends and on a high note. But you're like, this high note.
It's not good compared to...
It could be Empire State Building high.
Yeah. It could be like...
And it would not beat the depths.
It could be like Emma Clone being nude and asking you to bone her, and it still wouldn't be that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be enough to soothe the wounds that I had suffered. But anyway, despite me having... Again, I don't loathe the movie. I just was really fucking annoyed with it and bored for the most time. And I have a fucking attention span. I could sit through some fucking boring shit. It's not that type of boring. It's just like, why, dude? Why are you doing this? I'd rather be bored than watch this. That kind of boring. But anyway, the bright spots shine, but again, not enough, right? But I was like, oh man, please. And then I let my friend know, and she was like, what, really? And I'm like, yes, really? This fucking licks. I can understand it. This might sound sexist. I can understand a chick liking the movie.
Look, I'm just to add to that comment that might probably controversial comment. Most people who I talk to who like this movie, chicks.
Yeah, it does. Again, that sounds fucked up.
It's just true.
It's not every chick, obviously, that we're talking about.
Clearly.
But the majority of chicks have a tendency to like certain things. Like tons of chicks love Labyrinth. Yeah. But you won't find a bunch of guys that do. I mean, I like Labyrinth, but I don't love Labyrinth. And chicks love Labyrinth.
I mean, I guess if you're into humongous dongs.
I love David Bowie. Could not get into Labyrinth that much.
I love giant dongs.
Yeah. Now it's and like, still, no.
I haven't even seen it. And
chicks love Dark Crystal. But, most guys are like, that's okay, I guess. If that. Yeah. That's what I'm saying here. This is that type of movie where I was like, I can understand chicks liking this. And again, it's not that I want blood and guts up in this bitch. I don't. Lord of the Rings trilogy did it without any blood and guts even. But if this one has blood and guts. But the point is, we're not talking about the rest of the movies. We're talking about the first one. And just in that regard, I was like, just so torn asunder.
Your asshole is torn asunder.
Literally. But then she goes, oh man, at least see the other ones, see if you like them. And I was like, I mean, I guess. I wasn't enthusiastic.
Not to mention there was kind of like that was the word back in the day that skip the first one, they get good after the first one.
Yeah. I like the silence after that. No, but yeah,
that was kind of like the thing everybody was
saying. I had to wean myself away from the memory of the first one, and then when I was like, all right, I got to remember what could happen in the second one. I know Legolas is in it, and there's room. A lot of people bitch about that. I've been reading. Oh, why is he even in this? It makes sense. He comes from the woodlands.
Yeah,
those are his people.
I mean, he's an elf. It makes sense that he's alive.
And
I heard some people being like, "Why is he alive?" I'm like,
like
10,000 years old.
He's a fucking elf. But anyway, I saw some promo stuff, and I was like, I could see where they're kind of going with this. All right, I'm game. I'm ready. I'm hyped. And I was very, very fucking pleased with the Desolation of Smaug. I really fucking enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm sorry, Smaug. But anyway, I really fucking enjoyed it. Hear the dwarves work. They are supposed to be funny and they are supposed to be quirky, but here it didn't feel grating and annoying. And again, the part of that has to do with the fact that there's a foundation in the first one, so I don't want to steal that from the first one. But it's still more like of a fix than a foundation, you know. And I loved all the stuff that they added to it, you know. It really added substance. It made sense. And it made everything just fucking richer.
It didn't feel like they were stretching out the ranch.
Yeah,
as they say.
Where the first one they were just, man, you could see through anything that they were stretching out in that one, and it was everything that they were stretching out.
They were thinner than my underwear.
And you're currently naked, so that says something. But yeah, man, this one didn't feel forced. It felt natural. It felt like there was something invested into it. Love. Mostly. And then the big payoff film comes at the ass end. And, you know, just like Return of the King, you get this big payoff. And I know you've said this in the past, and I have to mirror that the payoff in this one feels a lot better than the payoff in Return of the King in terms of the action. Yeah. Obviously, the consequences and the scope and the meaning of Return of the King is way superior.
That battle, though.
That battle is one hell of... This entire series could have sucked up to that battle, and if that battle was the same, holy shit.
Which again is kind of funny because they show you the whole like size of the battle, and it's like this big compared to anything in Return of the King or you know the Helm's Deep battle, but it feels because of how like it's shot and shit. And it kind of makes you care about the characters and all. There's so much cool. There's like a coolness overload that you're like, yeah, this is some epic ass battle, despite the fact that it's like a fraction of the size.
It is fucking jaw-droppingly badass, man. And again, the characters are so well defined, all of them from all sides, that you feel invested in everything, in every single shot, and what's going on. The dwarves matter, and again,
dwarves' lives matter.
It mirrors the book. So I guess what I'm saying here is that the book skipped a lot of cool shit, and the movies did elaborate on that, and that's good and to its benefit. But the movie should have skipped that first chunk of the book, not skipped, but should have like, hey man, this could have been two movies.
Yeah, there's no need. This has to be a freaking new trilogy. Yeah, like it could have just been two movies.
And
or if you're gonna do the trilogy thing, expand from the beginning, not start expanding in the second movie.
Yeah, you know because really all they did in the first one is expand, fucking sitting around a table.
Kind of like I haven't seen it, but hearing you describe it, it kind of feels like they weren't ready to make the first movie. Yeah, and once the second one came along, they actually had a script and had an idea of where it was going.
And you know, again,
the third one's really cool. I really like the third one.
I'm loath to say the first one sucks because it doesn't suck. Again, it's just incredibly fucking
not good.
Man, it's not even. I was gonna say paper thin, but
it's not good. Would you give it a? It's not good.
It's fucking licks out of 10. But yeah, you know, in retrospect, the other two couldn't have come without it. I just bemoan the fact that they had the audacity to say, "Hey, we need an extended cut of this shit." Yeah. And then it's the longest one too. It's like, serious, dude. This has to be even longer than the other extended versions. Anyway, that's what I fucking think about the Hobbit.
It's not good.
Fuck. But we are gonna rewatch the whole fucking trilogy eventually, as a whole, because you do kind of need to see a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, I will say that a lot of the character stuff in the second one didn't hit me too much because I didn't know the characters.
it does depend a lot on that.
That being said, I did really like the second one. But the third one was like, woo, because the third one's kind of like it's like kind of like a new leaf for the dwarves, you know, with what's his face being insane. Yeah. So it kind of works almost like if you haven't seen the other two, I think. And the action alone is freaking badass. But yeah, I do kind of have to see the first one to fully enjoy the second one, I think.
Yeah, and I'm very interested to see how I'll react to the first one now that I've gotten this vitriol out of my system.
Maybe don't see the extended.
Oh, we're going to see the extended, all right. But the point is, I'm just interested to see what my reaction will be now that I know what's in store for me versus being like, they can't possibly make 3 movies out of this book, and then finding out
they can't
that
possibly
the first
make
one,
3 movies.
yeah, that the first one is just, woo,
Like,
lots of dwarves.
The first one's like a confirmation of all your fears. Like, they
It
can't
really
make,
was.
and then you're like, oh no, they really can't.
Yeah, man, that was my biggest dread. They're gonna stretch everything like this. Thankfully, they did not do that, and this new stuff was, especially the Dol Guldur White Council shit. Oh my freaking, that alone made up for the first one. You know, even before, you know, we get into the Battle of the Five Armies as a whole, the battle at Dol Guldur, that shit was like, fuck, man. Thank you. You just alleviated my anger from years of reading The Hobbit and going, the fuck, man? The fuck didn't Gandalf? Why didn't we see that shit? Anyway, that fixed that, so that was good. But anyway, it's been Ahab and the Goontick talking The Hobbit.
We didn't even touch on Radagast.
We didn't even fucking touch on Radagast. Really, I want to punch Radagast a little because, you know, who the fuck has a sleigh driven by rabbits? But whatever. We're going to leave that one alone.
Yeah.
Point is, we're out. Hit like, share, subscribe, and those notifications. Bye.